Hey guys, and welcome to an Aspie's Point of View, where I give you my opinion on stuff. So today we are discussing The Good Doctor Season 3, Episode 7, entitled SFAD. And I do apologize that this video wasn't up yesterday, but I was late in my watching. Please don't judge me. So before I get started, I just wanted to leave a reminder that I always want to encourage discussion down in the comments section. And certainly if you like what you see, please let me know by subscribing so that I can continue to put out content that people are liking. So basically, there was one particular scene that I wanted to talk about in tonight's video. Shawn speaks with this girl who has no immune system. So she's the bubble girl. And for once, he finds someone he can relate to. And there were some very key things that Shawn said that I wanted to hone in on. The first was, he said, "I'm not close to my parents either. I have autism and they don't." And certainly, I'm very close with my parents, but there are always times when I say to them, "You just don't understand," and when they ask why, my response is, "You don't have autism." And it is a little bit like feeling like you're on an island by yourself, and no matter what the people who love you do to try to help you, you're with your brain. And if your brain isn't going to allow that help to come through, if you can't see what these people are saying, if you can't comprehend it and accept it, then you're still on that island by yourself. And so I felt like that was a key sentence, really, and a key feeling that Shawn has. I'm very fortunate that my parents haven't given up on me and haven't just said, "Oh, she's a lost cause." And, they put up with a lot more than they should have to. And I am incredibly lucky for that. But there are a lot of people who are on the autism spectrum who do not feel close with their parents, close with any friends they might have, because they always feel different. You always know you're different. The next thing that Shawn said, equally, I have not had all parts of what I'm about to say, but I've experienced some of them, and I feel like every word he said was valid. Shawn says, "I'm a freak too. People have called me that because I'm not neurotypical, and I used to be alone like you. Sometimes that is easier because it's hard to be around people when you're not like them." And I am very lucky, again, in the sense that no one's ever called me a freak. I did have an incident at work that I don't know if I told anyone outside of work. I was on a radio one night, and certain people thought that I had left, and someone came over the radio and said that because there was a retard working there, that my boss was getting a tax cut. And that was the only reason I was employed there. And I was so steaming angry because I fought like hell every day to prove myself at my job. And to have someone say that, to have someone use that language, made me incredibly angry. And I went to a manager and said, "I know you were just on that radio. How could you not stop that?" And the people were eventually talked to, but it's something I never forgot, because who can forget something like that? And I actually went in the next day and asked my manager, I said, "Be upfront with me. If you're getting a tax break for having me here, I don't care, but I'd like to know." And he told me the truth, that as far as he knew, he wasn't. And that, what those people said, I needed to let go of and know that I belonged there, because of myself. But, people who are neurodivergent being called freaks, retards, any number of different derogatory terms is common. The other thing that I really find is ringing true to my life in that sentence is that it's easier to be alone, because when you're around people that you're not like, it's hard. There are events at my work, holiday meals and such, that I have never gone to because it's too much work. I'm different, and the more time I spend outside of work with people from work, the more I'm afraid that they're going to figure out that I'm different, and that's going to change the way they see me. And I don't want to be seen in a negative light by anyone, and I don't want to isolate myself by showing people that I'm socially awkward. And at the same time, I know that I am isolating myself in order to not show people that I'm socially awkward. And so it's a lose-lose situation there, in the sense that if I go, I'm working so hard, like I talked about a couple of videos ago when Shawn's disaster date was about the fact that he had to work so hard. I would be working so hard to pretend to be normal that it wouldn't be fun for me. It would actually be work. And so a lot of the time it's easier to be alone. Now, if you compound that with my bipolar disorder, my depression, my anxiety, you find me, which is a lot of times coming home from work, getting into bed, and not moving. And I have a saint of a boyfriend who loves his video games and, will go about his night even if I'm just curled up in bed and keeping to myself. But then there are nights like last night when we watched 2 movies together and we literally laughed so hard that I almost had an asthma attack. I could not breathe for a good 20 minutes. So what Shawn says at the end of that whole speech, after saying that sometimes it's easier to be alone because you're not like those people, he mentions having people in his life like Dr. Glassman and Leah and Carly, and that now he thinks he might be better off with people. And nights like last night, nights like the night that we had our double date, nights like that are nights that make me think that maybe I'm wrong, and maybe, just maybe, it would be better to be around people than to be alone. I apologize for the shakiness of this video. I'm a little emotional and can't really hold my camera super still. But I wanted to get that out there. And just to tie it back into the show, I did want to say that I feel like that speech actually showed social growth for Shawn. And the reason I feel that way is because he gave the speech in the correct circumstance. He was able to identify with the patient. He was able to talk to the patient, and he was able to convince the patient to allow them to perform a surgery that might help her. And so for Shawn to be able to do all those things, even though it seems like that's such an inappropriate conversation to have with a patient, in that particular case, at that particular time, he was right to give that speech. And so please let me know down in the comments section what you thought of the episode, what you thought specifically of that scene. If you're on the spectrum, stories of, how people have responded to you in life. Again, my big thing is I want to open up a dialogue. So until next time, this has been an Aspie's point of view. Good night, guys.